Hello everyone, Kraft here again, and we're back with another shorter video this time. This video is about something that I discovered about 3-4 months ago that I kind of held off from really doing anything about because I kind of wanted to see it finish before I did. And then also with the light of the Persona 25th anniversary news, I thought I'd save it just in case something big happened. After all, that teaser for the first announcement that we got in September was definitely hinting towards something Persona 4 related. So obviously it was going to be a port or a remaster or something of Persona 4. It most certainly wouldn't be some reruns of an anime, a concert and some digital wallpapers. No, that would be very Atlas indeed, wouldn't it? Your company would need to be ran by a small collection of dinosaurs to do something like that. Anyway, one announcement later and yeah, that's not happening. So if we're not going to get a Persona 4 Golden port or remaster for the PS4 or Switch or something, well, why don't we try and make a remake out of the PC version? Or at the very least, enhance the remaster that we've already got. And that's exactly something we can do with the use of mods. So this video is just kind of a very short mod showcase of two mods in particular. There is stuff like the Persona 4 Golden Community Enhancement Pack, which is a collection of rather small mods that altogether make a fairly drastic change on the game. It's still very much the core Persona 4 experience, but there's just some minor bug fixes and some quality of life improvements for somebody who's going back to the game playing it for a second or third time. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today, because today we're going to be talking about what are probably my two favourite mods that I was wanting to see from pretty much the beginning of Persona 4 Golden being announced for Steam. Before I start out, what I do want to say is that these two mods kind of work in tandem with each other. You can get one of them working by themselves, but one of these mods is required for the one that I actually wanted to talk about to actually work. Something else to keep in mind is that while I was testing these mods out and also getting the footage for them, I noticed that the modding process itself for Persona 4 is a little bit finicky and it's very easy to screw up some stuff. I spent a good amount of time fiddling around with stuff, and while I did get the mods all working together, it was a little bit unstable, and under certain conditions I could very easily make the game crash while I was playing it. I'm not sure if this is because one of the mods may have been broken with the version, or maybe not compatible with the other versions of the mod that I had, or maybe I had just installed them all wrong. I'm not quite sure, but that is something to keep in mind. Regardless, moving right into things, the first mod that I want to talk about, which is what spurred me to make this video in the first place, is the Persona 5 model backport mod for Persona 4 Golden. You may have already been able to work out what it does by just looking at the footage, but this is what I meant by making your own Persona 4 remake, or at the very least your own enhanced remaster. Essentially what this mod does is it replaces all of the Personas in Persona 4 with their models from Persona 5. Since there's a lot of overlap in which Personas are available, this means that a good majority of them all have much higher quality models. And the few Personas in P4 that don't have a Persona 5 model either are replaced with a different Persona that wasn't in Persona 4 originally, or they'll use the 3D models from the mobile game Liberation DX2. Obviously this does mean that they do kind of clash a little bit, but it's still a general improvement and it clashes less with the Persona 5 models than the PS2 assets from Persona 4. Regardless, if that's something you don't like, there is an option to not use the Liberation DX2 demons, so everybody can be happy still. It's one of those mods that just feels like a kind of general improvement. Sure, if you're a purist, you'd probably like the original ones and think that they might clash a little bit, but I think for the most part, it's like having a texture pack that is straight up just higher resolution versions of the same textures opposed to replacing them with brand new ones. It's something that's a very, in my opinion, static improvement opposed to something that's a bit of like a sidestep. However, that's not the only thing that we're talking about today, because this mod actually does a little bit more than just replace models. It also adds a few new personas. There is stuff like Loki's design being replaced with his Persona 5 design, which I'm not a huge fan of, but there is also stuff like adding Arsene to the game, as well as a few others. This by itself I'd probably say feels kind of gimmicky, however it works in tandem with the other mod that I mentioned that is needed for this mod to work, and that is the Persona and Skills expansion pack for Persona 4 Golden. This initial mod that you need to install first does a couple of things. For starters, it adds in a bunch of the personas that were missing from P4 that were originally in Persona 3, but it also adds in skills from Persona 5 such as Miracle Punch and Iha and all of its variants, meaning that when the likes of Arsene and the others are backported into the game, they're also backported with a lot of their skills that wouldn't necessarily be in the original version of Persona 4. This part is definitely something that I think isn't necessarily something you'd want to do for a first playthrough, which is unfortunate as it is part of the mods. You can't just use the Persona 5 HD models without adding the other personas to your list. So it is definitely changing that core experience, but regardless, I still think it's a really cool thing to do. I could only get so much footage of certain new stuff, so I've only really got Arsene here of the new personas that were added, as while I was using a New Game Plus save, I was still at the beginning of the game, which meant that I couldn't fuse a lot of the new stuff. But I do have some footage of me fusing and using Arsene a bit, and also just looking at the different demons with their new models in the compendium. Well, at least until the game crashed when trying to display certain models, that is. But yeah, that's just about it really. I've not really got much else to say. This video is just kind of here to show off something that the community had been working on that I think was really cool, and, you know, just share it with all of you. The only other thing that I could probably say is that it's kind of been left in an indefinite hiatus at this point, but there is a mod that somebody started working on that was going to replace all of the character models, at least in dungeons, with their Persona 4 Dancing All Night models. They only got as far as finishing Yu and a bunch of his costumes, but at least from the screenshots it seemed really cool. Unfortunately, with the main game being patched, the mod doesn't work anymore, so I can't show off any footage. However, like, you can tell from the screenshots what's different, and I think it's something that's quite neat. If it was something that applied to the whole party while in battle, and also used the Persona 4 Dancing All Night personas that summon at the end of dances, I think we'd end up with something that, in the end, would look really good. At least in terms of what fans can do in the limits of just modding a game. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this short little mod showcase of how you can make a slightly better remaster of Persona 4 Golden. I certainly think it's neat. Sorry, by the way, for having like 2 of these short, kind of fairly unscripted videos in a row. I've got 2 fairly big projects that I'm currently working on now, so please look forward to more scripted and well-structured stuff in the near future.